It's October, time to talk horror movies, in particular, horror movies that never should have been made. Today I'm reacting to an article titled 10 Horror Movie Sequels which never should have been made. Do I agree? Do I disagree? What movies should have been included? It's reaction time. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your opinion on the movies they included in their list. This is not my list, this is their list, this is my reaction to their list. And let me know what other horror movies come to mind when you think of horror movie sequels that were like, no, don't do it, that's a bad idea. One quick announcement before we get started. This Thursday, October 16th, I'm doing a live event here in Austin, Texas at Concordia University. It is an event for Concordia students, but it's open to the public, and so it'll be a live video recording looking at Endgame to end credits, the rise and fall of the comic book movie genre, what they did to be so successful, why they started to falter over the last 5 years, and what they can do and are doing to rebuild trust with audiences. It's me with a marketing professor at Concordia University looking at the rise and fall of the genre from a marketing and branding perspective. With all of that said, I'll have more details down below in the description, and let's get started with our article and see where do I agree and where do I disagree with what they had to say. First up on the list, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. So Blair Witch Project is possibly the most famous found footage movie of all time. That was kind of the movie that kick-started the craze. That it's not like it was the first one that was ever made, but it was the one that became like a cultural phenomenon. They market it in so many brilliant ways that people were like, did this really happen? Is this real found footage? And like people were like falling for all of the marketing. There's all this great viral buzz surrounding it before the word viral was as commented as it is now. So it cost roughly $5 to make the Blair Witch Project, and it made roughly $1 bazillion. So of course they wanted to make a sequel. So should they have made Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2? Absolutely not. This is a great pick right here. Now, I don't hate this movie. I don't find it to, I find it to be a watchable horror movie that probably shouldn't exist. But for very obvious reasons, it just feels like the most blatant of cash grab sequels, because it takes a movie that is so defined by its storytelling technique, found footage, it's such a specific experience, and they did a sequel that's just kind of generic Hollywood horror movie of its time. It's a very trendy Hollywood movie that is nothing like the movie that it's sequeling. So yeah, this is like a classic example of one where you go, no, you should not have done that. That was the wrong idea. So like I said, I don't hate this movie as much as some people. I find it totally watchable, but they just shouldn't have ever made it. Next up on the list, The Crow, City of Angels. This one is more horror adjacent. It's more goth action with some horror elements than overt horror movie. So right off the bat, does it qualify for this list? City of Angels is not a great Crow movie. By far, it's not the worst one by far, but it's not a good Crow movie. There's really only one good Crow movie, the original one. But I would actually disagree. I don't think it's fundamentally one where this film just shouldn't exist. That they if you kind of dive into all of this, they start to make the argument, it kind of tells a standalone story that's supposed to be self-contained and wrapped up all in one movie. And I just don't know that I'd agree with that sentiment. I think that the Crow mythology lends itself to more stories because of Brandon Lee. Eric Draven is the classic version of it, and he died making it. It kind of creates this mythology surrounding it that it's bigger than it actually is, more important than it actually is. because it's tied to someone's life and legacy. And so in many ways, it does make it more important than the movie in and of itself should have been, because it's literally about life and death. But when it comes to the Crow lore, there are other stories to tell, and other people can be the Crow besides Eric Draven. So the idea that it didn't need to exist, I would just disagree. Now, it's not a good movie, and it has the problem of having been hijacked from the director and converted into a movie that's a lot more similar to the original film. That the director wanted to make a movie that was more like a meditation on loss, and he had all of these new ideas that he wanted to make that would, like, let's take the Crow mythology and do all this other stuff with it and not just rehash what was done before. He turns his movie in, and the producers, they go, no, this isn't the Crow. Where the Crow is, goth revenge story. We want goth revenge story. So they cut like 45 minutes out of the movie, reorganized what was there. They changed when certain information was revealed to the audience, and tried to take this whole other thing and fit it into the mold of the original film, in which case it just feels like, let's do the Crow again, but with a different person. That's not what the movie was supposed to be when they first made it. So I disagree with this one. That it is a bad movie. It didn't turn out very well, but a lot of that was the producers. Was that one botched? Let me look that up real quick. Dimension Miramax. Yeah, it's another one of these deals that was botched by the Weinsteins. There's a zillion of these projects, franchises that the Weinsteins got a hold of in the 90s, and they just killed them in the editing room. This movie, the script was written by David Goyer. Now, David Goyer is pretty kind of hit or miss, but this is David Goyer when he did Dark City. If you don't know, Dark City is the director of the first Crow went on and did Dark City. That was his follow-up to The Crow. And the guy that wrote Dark City, David Goyer, who went on to Dark Knight, Man of Steel, many other things, wrote City of Angels. He also wrote Blade and Blade 2. So this guy this is a period where he's doing a lot of really great work. But the movie that we watch, that City of Angels that we watch, it's not the script really that he wrote. It's not the movie the director shot. It's this thing the Weinsteins just botched and reworked, and both David Goyer and the director have been like, it's frustrating because our names are on it, but this is the Weinsteins chopped up version of our thing. American Psycho 2 and All American Girl. Now, this is a direct-to-video sequel. I don't think these ones are as much fun to put in lists like this, because sometimes it's just like I don't know, it's like low-hanging fruit. Like, should this ultra-cheap thing exist? And you go, well, it's pretty easy to say, no, it shouldn't. In the case of American Psycho, this stuff is stupid. I watched this for the first time just a couple years ago, because why would you watch American Psycho 2? And it's entirely just exploitive nonsense that doesn't understand what American Psycho is about, doesn't understand the satire. It takes the absurdist make-believe, is he crazy? Is all of that's gone? We just play it out straight. And what if Patrick Bateman's sisters, it's like something like that, his sister, something like that, her at college with William Shatner, it's weird. But of course this shouldn't exist. But these ones are well, actually, I'll have the flip side of this with a later entry on this, but I just think that this sort of thing is, these ones aren't as interesting because it's such low-hanging fruit. Next up on the list, we have Jaws 2. I will say that this is kind of the flip version of The Crow 2, where The Crow 2's, it's not particularly well made, disconnected from the, well, it's connected to the original only in the silliest of ways, but Crow 2, I think the lore makes sense for it to exist, but then the execution and makes it not really work. Jaws 2 is a slickly produced movie with a lot of the returning cast, a big budget. It's competently made, it's coherent in everything that it's doing, but it makes no sense to make Jaws 2. This is a stupid idea. So this is like the flip version of it, where I'd say Jaws 2 as a movie in and of itself works better than The Crow 2. And so it's a competent version of a movie that I would agree, yeah, Jaws 2 doesn't need to exist. The idea that this one family keeps having encounters with the shark, like, these pesky sharks keep coming back, is ridiculous. Like, all four Jaws movies are about the Brody family, and one of them were like going into different waters and the shark follows them to get revenge. Like, this is nonsense. It's crazy. So this is a franchise that makes absolutely no sense to do sequels, in particular sequels that are about the same family. And, you know, even in this Jaws 2, the same mayor's still there and he's still stupid. So, no, this year it's going to be different. This year we're going to be fine on the 4th of July. We're a vacation town. We're a beach town. But the movie itself, it's not a bad movie. It just, probably shouldn't exist. Number 6, Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers. Gotta throw myself under the bus. I have never seen Sleepaway Camp or Sleepaway Camp 2, so I can't comment. Number 5, Exorcist II, The Heretic. This is the movie. This is the third time this one's come up in some of these lists recently. And in regards to The Exorcist, I think there's potentially other stories that could have been told in terms of the characters, the mythology, doing an exorcism. Should The Exorcist II, The Heretic exist? No, it should not. This is like the worst possible continuation story, a jumbled mess of unbelievably bad ideas. Whereas, like, who thought that this was, like, how did this get made? How did no one say, no. You can't have autism being cured by, she's just such a good person because evil exists in the world. Like, whatever it was, these are bad ideas, executed even stranger. And an example of a sequel that fails to deliver what people want from an Exorcist movie. Like, when you go to a franchise movie, there's certain expectations of the experience that you will get from the sequel. You don't want it to just rehash the plot. You want something fresh in there, but there's certain experiences that you expect. And Exorcist II, The Heretic fails to deliver on any of it at all. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I will agree on this one. I didn't watch these movies when they originally came out, though they were from, my formative years, the Kevin Williamson era and all that stuff. And all these are the high school movie stars from my high school years. Somehow I missed these movies until just a few years back. I finally watched through them. And I was someone that watched the second one and was like, ooh, like, this is a stretch. Like, everything about this movie just feels like the craziest. We are straining credibility top to bottom. You had an interesting one-off story, and now you've turned it into this whole other thing. And then rewatching it again this year is like, okay, yeah, that's the case. Like, there's moments in it that are fun. There's, I think the body count's higher, but it just, everything about it felt like it was unbelievable. It was just taking this much story and stretching it out this far. None of it felt like it had any air of truth to it. It's just like so far-fetched. So I think this is a concept that lent itself to like one movie, and I don't even think the original one's that good, that it's like one film that has just like this, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that doesn't translate into a franchise. And I think even like the one that came out this year, I think it does have its issues, but at least that one, it found some new angle to bring it back. It wasn't just stretching it so thin. The Rage Carrie 2. I I don't think I've actually ever seen this movie, but at face value, it's really obvious why Carrie should not have a sequel. That Carrie is not a movie that in any way, shape, or form lends itself to a sequel. This is a classic example of a movie becomes very famous. People know it. And so you just exploit the name for a franchise. But it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense to be like, let's do more of this. Let's have a sequel. Like, it doesn't, like, it's a such, even with where Carrie ends, it's done, it's resolved, there's nowhere to go. And then 20 years later, The Rage, Carrie 2. No. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to its quality, but pretty obvious given its track record, its legacy, that this one should not exist. Tremors 2 Aftershocks. Hard disagree. Hard disagree. And this will be the counterexample on terms of direct-to-video sequels, where American Psycho, they did a direct-to-video sequel and was like, this is moronic. What are you doing? I think Tremors is an example of fun direct-to-video sequels. I think there's only like one or two of the direct-to-video Tremors sequels that I don't like. I've seen every single one of them. They're creature features. They know exactly what their audience wants, and they deliver it. They have no pretenses of being anything. Like, are any of the sequels as good as the original? No. But do they deliver fun? Yes. Do they have just enough kills, just enough humor? Yeah. Like, every single one of the sequels is at least fun. Some of them are really fun. Some of them are really stupid. Some of them strain a little bit too much credibility or whatever. But the idea that, like, this Tremors 2 should not exist. Like, there's nothing in the movie that, like, hurts the original. Like, when you start messing around with American Psycho and, like, the lore of Patrick Bateman, you're doing something that cheapens the original by doing a sequel. Tremors 2 doesn't do anything like that. It's just like, yeah, there's more Tremors out there. They're evolving. There's these other types of them that are a little bit more land-based. Nothing about that hurts the original film or compromises it. Maybe some of the later ones where it gets a little bit more fantastic, you could say it waters it down, but, like, they're so far detached that who cares? But I just hard disagree. This is an example of a franchise that worked well direct to video. That you can make them cheaper. You don't pay Kevin Bacon to be in them, but you get some of the other stars in there. And, you know, the side character becomes the lead in the later ones. And blanking on his name at the moment, but the gun guy, I almost can remember his name, but it's not there. But John Heater shows up in the last one. They're fun. So hard disagree on this one. Final one on here, Alien Resurrection. Ooh, that's a tough one. Do I agree or disagree with this? I think because I was just, like, for me, here we go. Comments help us out here. Burt Gummer, that's who we're thinking of, becomes the lead character. Yep, Burt Gummer on the Tremors movies. He's like the third, fourth build in the first one, and then from like 3 onwards, he's just the star. Alien Resurrection, I think I was just so checked out by 3 that I was fine with Resurrection. I'm not, like, more offended by it than I am by what they do in 3. It's dumber. It's a funny one because it was written by Joss Whedon, and then with Joss Whedon wit in slang, in jokiness. And then it was directed by, like, a French guy where English wasn't his first language. And so everything that Joss Whedon is good at, this guy specifically is a little bit of lost. It was lost in translation a bit. And you can feel that watching the movie. Don't like the third act at all. I don't know that I need it to not exist because it's pretty easy for me to just be like, there's Alien and Aliens and then other stuff that I just kind of, it's fan fiction of different quality. I don't mind it existing. I wouldn't go, it doesn't need to exist. I'd pick something different. So that's their list. It's not great, but I don't need to get rid of it. that's their picks. If I'm immediately, when I think of a horror sequel that shouldn't exist, my brain immediately goes to, was it The Exorcist Believer? Was that the one that just came out? Was that the one where they did The Exorcist Avengers in the third act? They got the Halloween guy to do Exorcist, and you take this franchise that is so soaked in Roman Catholicism, and they're so afraid of making a definitively Roman Catholic movie that they do the religion Avengers, and they're like, religions assemble to bat. Like, it's just so ridiculous, just insane. And you got a guy that his strength is not the strength that, like, being able to do a good Halloween movie is not the same thing as being able to do a good Exorcist movie. They're radically different horror films, radically different subgenres, everything in there so different. And he could bring the simplistic thrills, at least with Halloween 2018, it worked. But that's just not the same thing as the depth and character work that you need in an Exorcist film. And just like a respect for Roman Catholicism. Like, I'm not Catholic, but like it's a Catholic franchise, and you can't just be like, oh well, in our modern times, like, what are you doing? Knock it off. So that's the one that immediately comes to mind for me. People are throwing in some of our Friday the 13th movies, New Beginning, or going with Jason Takes Manhattan. Oh, we got Pet Sematary 2. Yeah, Pet Sematary 2's that, like, it's a really strong standalone story that, or like, it's a really compelling, like, tale of loss and what would you do and the desperation. And it doesn't lend itself to, like, let's just do a sequel. And then the sequel leans all more into, like, the lore and what else could you bring back and what would happen if you did this. And it's all the lore stuff and not the emotional hook that is what makes the original one potent. So yeah, that's a good one. Halloween Kills shouldn't have gotten a sequel. Should have combined kills and ends into one movie. Yeah, that's something I've said many times that, and I think the plot of Ends with Corey could have worked as an anthology, but not with Michael in it. I was about to say not with Jason in it, as if I did not know the difference between Michael and Jason. Like, yeah, let's say you kill off Michael at the end of Kills, and then the community's broken, and then you do this anthology film about someone, and you're doing your version of Christine and the Halloween lore. Like, I think it can work, because it's not competing with itself to be a Michael Myers movie that's about the showdown with Laurie Strode again, while also being about this other guy. And so Ends doesn't work because it's so competing with it. Can't commit to this other guy because Michael's still there, and it can't be a satisfying Michael movie because Corey's here. So I think it could have worked as an anthology film, and that could have been what would have, like, the, you know, Tales of Haddonfield or something like that. But by doing it with Michael in the sewers was just a terrible idea. Let me know your picks down below in the comments. And keep talking movies and TV.